They say it's the fall that defines us, that the true measure of a person is how many times they get back up. We've all heard this story, the one where perseverance is a virtue and quitting is a quiet failure. But what if the real story isn't about the fall at all? What if it's about the weight a person carries before they even stand up? There is a silent epidemic of those who give up easily, not because they are weak, but because their well has been dry for so long that the effort to draw another bucket feels impossible. We see the surface, the unfinished project, the abandoned goal, but we rarely see the erosion beneath. What if giving up isn't an act of surrender, but a deeply human attempt at self-preservation? Let's begin. Watch closely. The moment they stop, the brush placed down, the key turned in the ignition, the application deleted. It looks like a choice, but a choice implies a crossroad, a moment of active deliberation. What if it isn't a choice, but a collapse? Imagine a tree in a storm. It doesn't decide to fall, it simply meets the threshold of what it can no longer bear. For someone who gives up easily, life is a series of storms. By the time they step away, they have already been battling the wind for miles. They aren't quitting the race. They are finally acknowledging that their legs have given out. The stop is just the sound of the body hitting the ground. It's a mercy. It's the nervous system screaming for rest after being told for years that rest is a reward you haven't earned yet. How heavy must the load be for a person to put it down without looking back? To understand why someone stops digging, you have to understand the soil they were given. As children, many learn a quiet, devastating equation. Effort does not equal result. Perhaps they tried to reach a parent who was perpetually absent. Perhaps they built sandcastles of creativity, only to have them stomped on by indifference. When you spend your formative years reaching for something that isn't there, your brain learns a dangerous efficiency. Reaching is pointless. This isn't laziness, it's learned conservation. The adult who gives up easily ice and tea, looking at a task and deciding it's too hard. They are looking at a task and, on a cellular level, remembering that the well has always been empty. They are operating from a map drawn in childhood where the path always led to a dead end. So why start the journey? The question isn't, why don't they try? The question is, who taught them that trying hurts? Look deeper, past the psychology and into the biology of the weary. When a human being experiences repeated failure or chronic stress, the brain's reward system, the delicate circuitry of dopamine, begins to starve. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure, it's about anticipation. It's the fuel that whispers, keep going. Something good is ahead. For someone who has given up easily for a long time, that whisper has gone silent. Their brain has been flooded with cortisol for so long, the chemical of stress and threat. It has prioritized survival over ambition. In this state, the brain perceives a new goal not as an opportunity, but as a threat to its limited energy reserves. It's not that they don't want to succeed. It's that their biology has built a wall to protect them from the pain of disappointment. Giving up becomes a chemical decision, a preemptive strike against the anticipated crash. There is a cruel irony living inside the heart of the person who stops trying. They often have the most magnificent vision of what done should look like. They don't give up because they don't care. They give up because they care too perfectly. The gap between the image in their mind and the clumsy reality of their first attempt is a chasm they cannot bear to cross. Perfectionism is not a love of excellence. It is a terror of inadequacy. So they stop. They abandon the painting, the relationship, the business plan, before it can reveal their perceived flaws. In this, they maintain a ghost of control. They tell themselves, I didn't fail. I just didn't try. It is easier to live with the quiet ache of what if than the loud, bleeding wound of I tried, and it wasn't good enough. They quit to protect the dream of who they could have been. But a person cannot live in this shadow forever. Eventually, the silence of a life half-lived becomes louder than the fear of failure. The turning point doesn't arrive as a surge of motivation. Motivation is a luxury they can't afford. It arrives as a crack. A moment of exhaustion so deep that they finally stop running from the truth. I am not lazy. I am grieving. They grieve the energy they never had. They grieve the support that never came. They grieve the version of themselves that believed the world was a fair place where effort is always rewarded. In this grief, there is no judgment. There is only a profound, aching compassion for the child who learned to stop reaching. For the first time, they see their surrender not as a character flaw, but as a scar. And a scar, unlike an open wound, no longer hurts in the same way. It simply reminds you of where you have been. Healing, for them, does not look like suddenly finishing every project. It looks like gentleness. It is the slow, tentative process of building a different kind of fire. One that doesn't burn, but warms. They must learn to separate their worth from their output, to practice effort without attachment to the outcome. Perhaps they write one sentence, not a book. Perhaps they take one step, not a marathon. They are rehabilitating the part of their brain that believes the well is empty by proving, inch by inch, that they can carry a single drop of water. It is not about becoming someone who never gives up. It is about becoming someone who understands why they stop. And in that understanding, finding the freedom to choose rather than the compulsion to collapse. They are learning that their value was never in the holding on, but simply in the being. So if you know someone who gives up easily, or if you see that person in the mirror, pause before you call it weakness. See the weight. See the long, silent war they have been fighting. Giving up is not a lack of strength. 'Tis often the last preserve of a heart that has been asked to be strong for too long. Perhaps true resilience isn't about never quitting. Perhaps it is about having the courage to finally stop carrying a weight that was never yours to bear. If this video made you feel seen, if it reflected a quiet truth you've carried but never spoken, you are not alone. This space exists to explore the hidden corners of the human heart, the ones we usually keep in shadow. If you'd like to stay connected on this journey inward, consider subscribing. And if something here stirred a thought, a memory, or a realization, feel free to share it in the comments. Not because you have to, but because your words might be the ones that help someone else feel a little less alone in their own story. Until next time, take care of yourself. You deserve gentleness. Thank you for being here till the very end. Now we'd love to hear from you. Where in the world are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. It helps us connect with like-minded peoples like you, and helps the algorithm share these stories with others who might need them. Like and subscribe if you'd like to stay part of the Psych Paint community, and thanks for watching.